Buttermilk cream biscuits over pears and blackberries. This is fruit cobbler at the Bulldog Bakery.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. Welcome back to the Bulldog Bakery. That's my home kitchen in Hell's Kitchen. And today we're going to make fruit cobbler with buttermilk biscuit topping. It's one of my favorites. I love to make this on the weekends, and then I have something really delicious to eat for breakfast for the week ahead. Don't be intimidated that it involves biscuits. You can make them from scratch. And with this recipe, it's just making the biscuit dough, and then we're going to drop it onto the fruit. No rolling out, cutting them out. That part's taken care of. You can do this. Let's get started.
So today's cobbler is pear blackberry. So I've started with 2 large pears that I've peeled and diced and added into this bowl. And to that, I'm going to add a pint of blackberries. And then I've added 1/4 cup of vanilla sugar and 2 tablespoons of flour.
And then give this a stir. For fruit combos for your cobbler, I suggest starting with either a core fruit like an apple or a pear, or a stone fruit, which is peaches, nectarines, apricots, and blend them with berries. I think that gives the best flavor and the best texture. When it's at the height of the season, my very favorite combination is peaches and blueberries. That just tastes like summer to me.
And once you've given it a stir for a bit, it'll look something like this. The juices of the fruit will blend together with the sugar and the flour.
And then spread it evenly in the pan. I'm making sure that the fruit goes only about halfway up the side of the pan. Obviously, I want to leave room for the buttermilk biscuit topping. So once you've done that, it's all in its place, and now this can just go off to the side. And now we'll start with the biscuits. I've got 1½ cups of flour in my sifter, and to that I'm adding 2 tablespoons of vanilla sugar. And then I'm adding this combination that I've pre-prepared in this cup. It's 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And that goes into the sifter as well. And then we sift. And I have 5 tablespoons of very cold unsalted butter. Make sure at this stage you've just taken it out of the fridge. Make sure it's cold.
So the butter is cut into small squares, and then this is going to go into the flour.
And then you add the butter into the bowl with the flour. And with immaculate clean hands, but I know you're an expert now at washing your hands, you're going to go ahead and work the butter through the flour mixture. You're just going to rub the pieces of the butter against the flour, and the flour is going to break it down. And while I'm working this butter through the flour mixture, let's talk about the different types of fruit desserts. Of course, today we're making a cobbler, and you'll soon find out why it's called that. But the other fruit desserts, just for trivia, in case you're ever on Jeopardy and the category's fruit desserts, I want you to be able to run the category. There's also a crisp, like for instance an apple crisp, and that's the fruit bottom, and then the topping has in it oats, flour, butter, and sugar. There's also a crumble, very similar to that, except there's not oats in the streusel topping. There's a buckle, which is sort of more of a fruit and more of a cake batter situation with streusel on top. And then when it bakes, it sort of buckles open. That's why it has that name. And then there's also brown betties, which are usually an apple brown betty. Again, it's a streusel topping, but instead of just being a topping, it's actually layered throughout the dessert. But here, we're making cobbler.
And now I've worked the butter all the way through the flour, and what it looks like is kind of like grated Parmesan cheese.
Then we're going to add our wet ingredients. I've got 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1/2 cup of heavy cream in my measuring cup. I'm giving it a quick whisk, and then I'm going to pour this into the flour mixture. And then give it a stir only a few times around the bowl, and a soft sticky dough will form. And then you're going to take the biscuit dough and you're going to drop it straight onto that fruit topping, as I said. And this is why we call it a cobbler, because in a sense you're making your own cobbled street. It's not meant to be smooth. It's meant to be a little imperfect, a little bumpy. So go ahead and keep doing that until you've covered the entire surface of the fruit.
So now I've covered the fruit with the biscuit topping, and I'm just going to sort of keep moving the biscuit dough in place so that it's completely covered. And again, no need to make it smooth. You want to keep it cobbly. And then before it goes into the oven, I'm giving it a final sprinkle of sparkling sugar. And this adds a little bit of shine and a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of sweetness. And now it's ready for the oven.
And so like this, it's going into the oven at 375 for 25 minutes. And now we're ready to check the oven. And it is perfect.
And here it is straight out of the oven. And now I'm diving into this nice flaky biscuit crusts and those delicious pears and blackberries underneath.
And you can serve the cobbler warm out of the oven or at room temperature. You could add whipped cream or ice cream to make it more of a dessert, or you can have it for breakfast like I do with some Greek yogurt. No matter how you have it, it is scrumptious. So good. Enjoy.